Okay, so I'm going to read some Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. And this is chapter 1, Safeguard. Sooner or later, it was bound to happen. On June 30th, 1908, Moscow escaped destruction by 3 hours and 4,000 kilometers, a margin invisibly small for the standards of the universe. On February 12, 1947, another Russian city had still narrow escape, and the second great meteorite of the 20th century detonated less than 400 kilometers from Vladivostok. I have a hard time with that. I'm going to call it Vladi. With an explosion rivaling that of a newly invented uranium bomb. In those days, there was nothing that men could do to protect themselves against the last random shots in the cosmic bombardment that had once scarred the face of the moon. The meteorites of 1908 and 1947 had struck inhabited wilderness, but by the end of the 21st century, there was no region left on Earth that could be safely used for celestial target practice. The human race had spread from pole to pole, and so inevitably, at 0946 GMT on the morning of September 11th in the exceptionally beautiful summer of the year 2077, September 11th. Interesting. This book was written in the 80s, so that's great. Most of the inhabitants of Europe saw a dazzling fireball appear on the eastern sky. Within seconds, it was brighter than the sun. As it moved across the heavens, at first in utter silence, it left behind a churning column of dust and smoke. Somewhere above Australia, it began to disintegrate, producing a series of concussions so violent that more than 1 million people had their hearing permanently damaged. They were the lucky ones. Moving at 50 kilometers a second, 1,000 tons of rock and metal impacted the plains of northern Italy, destroying in a few flaming moments the labors of centuries. The cities of Padua and Verona were wiped from the face of the earth. The last glories of Venice sank beneath the sea, as the waters of the Adriatic came thundering landward, and after a hammering blow from space. 600,000 people died, and the total damage was more than $1 trillion. But the loss of art to history to science to the whole human race for the rest of time was beyond all computation. It was as if a great war had been fought and lost in a single morning, and a few could draw much pleasure from the fact that, as dust of destruction slowly settled for months, the whole world witnessed the most splendid dawns and sunsets of Krakatoa. After the initial shock, mankind reacted with a determination and a unity that no earlier age could have shown. Such a disaster, it would realize, might not occur for 1,000 years, but it might occur tomorrow and the next time, and the consequences could be even worse. Very well, there would be no next time. 100 years later, a much poorer world with far feebler resources had squandered its wealth attempting to destroy weapons launched suicidally by mankind against itself. The effort had never been successful, but the skills acquired then had not been forgotten. Now they could be used for a far nobler purpose, and on an infinitely faster stage, no meteorite large enough could cause catastrophe would ever again be allowed to breach the defenses of Earth. So began Project Safeguard, 50 years later, and in a way that none of its designers could ever have anticipated. It justified its existence. So a short one, but I'll leave it at that.